Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Binbond M930. Let's start with the wrist check. I'm wearing the Sukume 2264. I just reviewed this watch. If you haven't seen the review yet, be sure to check it out. And Greg was wearing my Mark Farewell 5650. Greg said Galactus wants 3PO to be his new herald, but 3PO doesn't want to be known as the Silver Shanker. Galactus said, "You're mostly gold, so how about the Golden Glider?" 3PO said, "I'm afraid that name is already trademarked by DC Comics. She is a Flash Comics villainess who ice skates in midair by her skates that produce anti-gravity ice." Galactus said, "I didn't know you could trademark stupid." All right, let's get a look at the watch. Comes in a fairly simple box. And here's the watch. It looks a lot like a Land Dweller. Another Binbond on my channel. This is my very first homage to the new Rolex Land Dweller, which is Rolex's entry into the integrated bracelet sports watch trend. Rolex swears that this watch was inspired by their very own Oyster Quartz of the 70s and not the PRX, but we know better. Binbond makes ultra affordable watches, and this watch indeed did cost me $15, and thus you get ultra affordable features, including a chrome plated alloy case and hollow steel bracelet. But not all ultra affordable watches are created equal, and though some watches are complete junk, others do the best that they can and still stay within budget. This Binbond could be one of those if it wasn't for one fatal flaw. This watch comes in tons of colorways. I chose white because that is the colorway of the steel Rolex Land Dweller. If you want to stick with the steel tone, or you could even call it white gold tone, there are sky blue, black blue, and emerald green dials. If you like two-tone, you get everything but the sky blue. There are also yellow gold and rose gold models. The watch is 40 millimeters if you measure at the bezel, and the bezel is the same size as the case. It's 47.5 millimeters long, but it does have inverted end links. It's only 10.3 millimeters thick if you don't count the Cyclops, and I never do. The lug width does not apply, but it's 25 millimeters where the bracelet meets the case and tapers down to 20. And weighs 109 grams on the displayed hollow bracelet with 2 links removed. The bezel's fluted and looks nice. And then we have the dial. The dial has minute markers on the rehaut. Then we have the dial itself. It has that honeycomb pattern of an actual Land Dweller. So that's nice. And if you look at them closely, they're actually engraved. It's not just a sticker. We have the Binbond name and logo up top. And then on bottom, here, it's hard to read. Let me zoom it. It says, "Keep up with global fashion." That was on the latest Podager I did. So I don't know why they're putting that on these watches. They need to stop. And then we have the indices. We have baton indices with numerals at the 6, 9, and 12. And they're all Lume. You'll see later in the Lume shot. Then we have stick, minute, and hour hand. And then we have an unloomed second hand that has kind of like a needle eye as a counterbalance. Then we have a date at the 4 with the Cyclops. And unfortunately, the Cyclops barely magnifies. So they might as well just left it off. Then we have an unsigned push-pull crown. And here's where we have our biggest problem. This crown action is super loose, and then when you go to press it down, look at that jump. That was a little one. See, look at that. It's huge. Huge jumps. That one wasn't so bad. But yeah, really bad jumps. And if you go to hold it, look at that. I held it and it still jumped like that. So setting this thing has been a nightmare. Really unhappy with it. Look at the, did you see that one? That was just huge. So not happy with this at all. And I think it has to do with the movement. The movement is a Z205, and this is the only second Z205 I've ever had. And so I blame the movement. If they would have put an SL28 in here, it wouldn't have been near as bad, and I would have been really happy with this watch, but this movement is a real bummer. Then we have the crystal. Crystal's flat mineral glass. Does the job, nothing wrong with it. And then we have the case. The case is a chrome plated alloy. smooth on the sides and brushed on the tops. And unfortunately though, the brushing isn't very good. When you brush a watch and then plate it, you have to brush it really nicely. Otherwise the plating just brings out the worst of it. And so this brushing doesn't look good at all. It would have been better off just leaving it smooth. But it's a nicely shaped case, and they do a good job with the whole integrated bracelet design. And then we have the case back. Case back's a press-on, no little fake notches to make it look like a screw down. It says best metal bezel, whatever that means. Then it says resistant, because you only get 30 meters. And then it says stainless steel. So, but the case back is stainless steel. The case is not. Then we have the bracelet. The bracelet looks like a J style, but it's not. These little grooves in here are just grooves. As you can see from the back, it's really one piece. Each link is one piece. It doesn't fully articulate. But thankfully, once again, it's got inverted end links, so that's always nice. And these are hollow links. And you have push pins. You're never going to see a hollow link bracelet with screw pins. I'm happy with push pins anyway. And then we have a butterfly clasp, and it's not signed or anything. But thankfully, though, you don't need to push it in any single direction. It works either way. But also, too, though, you see there's a little indent. Not a major one, though, like I've seen on others. Here's the watch and my 7.5-inch wrist. That does look nice, and it wears nice. I only removed 2 links, though. And so, if your wrist is bigger than 8, you're not going to be able to wear this. And usually I say, well, just buy 2 of them. They're so cheap. And rob the links out of one and put the other one on a strap. But you can't really put this one on a strap now, can you? So you would have to buy 2 just to throw the other one away. So I don't recommend that at all. So if this is too big for you, if this is too small for you, don't buy it. Here we are in the Lume room. There is no way a $15 watch is going to have good lume, but sometimes we get at least decent lume. As we speed up the time, we see a green C3 colored glow. The markers and numerals start out weak and are fading fairly fast and are soon gone. But at least the major hands are much better, if not exactly good. I guess I'll rate the lume as so-so. I've definitely seen much worse. What I like about this watch, they nailed the look of the Land Dweller. I like this honeycomb dial that's actually engraved. And I like the fact it has inverted end links. What are my gripes and groans? This Z205 movement is horrible. I hate it. You go to set it and you get this horrible minute hand jump. It says keep up with global. It says, what are my gripes and groans? The Z205 movement is horrible with this horrible minute hand jump. Really bad. It says keep up with global fashion on the bottom. That's just dumb. They need to get rid of that. And the bracelet's too short. I'm going to remove 2 links, and you're not going to put it on anything else. Do I recommend this watch? If they would have just put an SL28 in this watch, I would be saying, sure, this watch looks great for the money. But that Z205 makes this watch a nightmare to set, and thus I can't recommend it. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Binbond M930, and I'll be back with another review. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you like this watch, be sure to use my affiliate link, and I'll get a tiny commission, but those tiny commissions do add up. And you never know, maybe I just got a bad movement. I'd like to thank my Members Choice members. Still haven't sold a Members Choice watch. I have a few inquiries, so we'll see if that goes through. Some guy offered me $120. I just couldn't take that. Bye.